Yesterday, I made the comment that Abraham didn't always do the right thing, and he didn't always leave the best example for his nephew to follow. Now, how we're going to show that is actually from an account that happens after Abraham and Lot split ways, but it still illustrates the fact that even the person who's known as the friend of God will still make terrible decisions when left to their own devices. So in Genesis 16, and this is before God actually changes their names, I know this, but I'm still going to just refer to them as Abraham and Sarah just for simplicity's sake. Sarah comes to Abraham and says, I'm too old to give you a son. Why don't you take my handmaid and father a child with her? And we look at that and go, that's a terrible idea. And Abraham should have looked at that and said, that's a terrible idea. But he didn't. He consented. And as a result, Ishmael was born. And we could talk about the implications of who Ishmael was. And there's so much that could be talked about there, but we're not going to. That's not our focus today. Our focus today is the consequence of that particular sin and the implications of it and how we can apply something to our lives today in the 21st century. So God had promised Abraham and Sarah a son. So in Sarah saying, I'm not going to be able to give you a child, she is saying God's not able to do what God said he was going to do. And they tried to fulfill something that only God could do. And that was obviously not a good thing. It was a sinful thing for them to do. They didn't have faith in God, and they had too much faith in themselves. God doesn't want you to go out and try to do his work for him. He wants you to submit and yield yourself to him so that he may be able to enable you to do the things he calls you to do in his timing, in his way, and in his power. Sarah and Abraham didn't do that. So the implications of this, and I don't want to read too much into the text that isn't there, but in Genesis 16, when Ishmael is born, Abraham is 86. The next chapter, Genesis 17, Abraham is 99 years old. And that's the next time that we know for a fact that God spoke to him. Now, it's very possible that in between these two events, that God could have spoken to Abraham in other capacities. That's I'm not saying that didn't happen, but I'm saying we don't have that account, we don't have that record, and the next time that we know that God speaks to Abraham is 13 years later. So the application that I would make on this particular account is that sin delays God's promises, and it will keep you from hearing from God and put a barrier between you and God. Don't rush him. Wait on the Lord. Let him do what he's going to do in his timing. Don't delay his promise.